My name's JC McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org. Hello and welcome to Civic Beat and welcome to 2024. I think I'm the first show. Am I the first show of 2024? All right. On Access TV right here, Civic Beat. I'm the first, Nyesha McCauley. And we're going to do a little something different on today's Civic Beat because we are at the top of a year, a new year. We are at the top of the year. We're going to set some intentions. This is not me doing resolutions or anything like that, but it is me setting some intentions and also getting the conversation that is ongoing in my head out into the public. And I want to talk about Civic Beat and what my intentions are for 2024 and this show. And we're going to do that today. So I don't have a guest, but stay tuned because it's going to be a good conversation and one I want to continue to have with you throughout the year. So let's get into it. I, as now entering into my 50th season, personally, entering into my 50th year in 2024, had a lot of time to reflect over my life. And one of the things that I reflect on is what do I believe civics mean, and what is civics anyway, and why am I seemingly drawn to it? And thinking about that, I thought about the TV sitcom Cheers. If you are also in my age range, this TV show is not going to be new to you, but to those who've never seen it, maybe you worked second shift and you just didn't get into it. Cheers was a TV sitcom in the 80s focused around a group of people who would come into a local bar. And they would have a drink or two and discuss everything in their lives. And I love that. I'd love to tune in and watch that. But I also loved their theme. The theme to Cheers, I was just always drawn to. And if you know me relatively well, I will reference it in a conversation. I may even sing it, bring up the song on YouTube and actually play it. But the theme song to Cheers went something like, I'm not going to sing it. I am not going to sing it, but it went something like, sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name and they're always glad you came. I won't go any further because I think I will break into song. So I'm going to spare you this morning. But that idea of community, you know, you want to be where you could be seen, where you could be heard, where you can express yourself. All of those things I've always been drawn to because those are the things that make up a community. And when I think about community, this is my definition of civics. It's the same to me in that we are living a private life, but we also live a public life. So that life that you live with other people. And so for this group of people who would frequent this bar, that was their public life. Although they brought their private conversations into that scenario, this is how they chose to show up in community. And so civics is a lot like that. We have our private lives that we live behind closed doors and with those most closest to us. Although with social media, I think that line's been blurred a little bit, but we have a public life. And the public life is the one that we live with everybody else outside our doors. The one where we show up out in the park or at a community meeting or at an event. Where the one where we hold our elected officials accountable. These are all things that make up our public life. And this is the big, broad banner of civics. So it's to me, it is a living and breathing thing. And I find myself being drawn to it. And this show is really dedicated to that principle and to that purpose of public life. And speaking of purpose, if my metaphor or analogy of Cheers is not striking a bell or resonating with you, the Kwanzaa principle, Nia, meaning purpose, is also a reflection of this idea of how we collectively come together to set a common agenda and common goals. It's really relatively the same thing. We are all here individually, but collectively we have something shared and something in common of what it is that we are set here to do and can do together. And there's a power in that, in the collective and in the common good, if you will, and in a common purpose. There is a goal and things that only we can accomplish collectively. And that's the other great thing about how we show up in our public life, because there's only some things that we can do in community and with others that we couldn't do individually in and of ourselves. And when I think about community, this is the kind of thing that I'm drawn to, because it is how I want to show up and participate. And that's the other part of civics, is how we show up and we participate and we build in our neighborhoods and in our community. And if you live in Hartford for some time, you can sort of watch and feel and get a sense of how that community narrative, how that community feeling, how that community spirit, how our collectivism, if you will, in the city is functioning and operating. And you could kind of get a sense of it when you're out walking the street, attending an event, going to and fro into your house and into your neighborhoods. You can get a sense of check the temperature, if you will, of what's the sentiment in the city? How do we feel collectively about our city? And these are the kinds of things that Civic Beat is going to focus on for 2024, because I think there's a piece of our civic life or our public life that we're doing together in Hartford that needs a public conversation, right? And it matters because there's a role that we, Joe Public or Joe Citizen, have to play in order to contribute to that feeling, that sense of health, that sense of security that only we can build together collectively when we come together. So you feel this, what I'm talking about, crossing Park Street, crossing Weathersfield Avenue, going downtown if you participated just in Bushnell Park this past weekend, first night. You feel it in whether or not you feel safe, whether or not the road that you traveled on to get to where you were going was clean, whether you feel heard if you have an issue, whether your taxes have gone up, whether or not the school in which your children attend, you feel as though they are being educated. You feel this feeling of whether or not these things are healthy. Are they thriving? Are they supporting you? Do you feel satisfied in your life? What is the quality of your life? You feel all those things and they show up in all of those different areas of your life. And this is absolutely the kind of conversations that I want to get into right here on Civic Beat in 2024. And so to me, it's a broad umbrella. And we're going to take some time over the next couple of months and really dive into each one of these areas individually. And so I'm going to bring on some different people throughout the year to talk about all of these different areas that make up our public life. But one of the things I wanted to do more specifically with this show, now that I've sort of set some intentions of kinds of the conversations that I want to have and what I'm doing here, what's my intention for Civic Beat, a specific area that I want to get into and spend a little bit time on this morning with you or whenever you happen to be watching. 2024 is also a big year for elections. And lots of times people think when they hear the word civics, or you may see the title of this show, Civic Beat, and you may think I'm just going to talk about elections. I really wanted to lay down a strong foundation and say that's actually one piece of the puzzle, but it is an important piece. So I am going to spend a little bit of time there. 2024 is going to be a big year for elections. We just came off a big year for us here in the city of Hartford. We came off a big year of elections. We elected a new mayor and a new city council members. Some of them are returning council members, but we definitely have a new mayor. And so I'm sure they are all making their way into the office this morning because we're here 2024 open for business, and they are ready to assume their positions and get into it. But there are other elections coming up in 2024. We have the presidential election that is going to be huge. I will not be really spending a lot of time talking about the national elections. I think a lot of space is taken up certainly by others, and you can get a lot of information about who you may be interested in voting for. But I tell you, if I get a phone call from a national politician and they want to come on and talk to you, Hartford, I will entertain that. I will entertain that conversation. But locally is where my heart is at. I think this show is really a service to the city of Hartford residents, and I believe in local, and all politics is local. And so I really will use this platform to focus on our local elections, but I cannot miss the fact that we do have a presidential election this year, and it will have an impact on all of us, no doubt. But our local elections is where I want to start here. And there are many. There's a lot. I have a list of everyone who's going to be running for office and knocking on your door, asking for a donation, all of that good stuff. And there's a role for everybody to play. There's the role for the elected official to run, but there's also a role that we play. We participate in this too. And without us, this thing really doesn't work. And we saw some of that in the this just past election. We had one of the lowest voter turnouts in the city's history. And that's something we should talk about. We should get into it and have a really strong analysis as to what's going on with that. But I digress. We'll get into that later. But here we go. 2024 election preview. Town committee members are at the top of the food chain, in my opinion. There's elections coming up. Your town committee members there's a bunch of people going to be running for town committee or just rolling over into the next political season for them if there is no one running against them. So your town committee members are in Hartford. Some of the most powerful group of people in the city, because they actually do the endorsing. This group of people who are your town committee members really decide who gets a party endorsement. And a party endorsement is pretty important in a city like Hartford. You get that label attached to your name that you are the Democrat. And that solidifies you a seat on the top of the line when it comes to the ballot. You get that endorsement, and it's pretty powerful. We will be talking about that this year. I'll be bringing on a few people in the next couple of weeks to talk about town committee and the role of town committee members. But I'm just putting it out here to you today that those seats are up, and something to pay attention to, because they really play a big role in our politics in Hartford. They are shaping our policy in our community. So something you definitely want to pay particular attention to. We have our U.S. representative seat, John Larson. That seat is going to be up for election. I don't know if any of these people, as I go down my list, I don't know official announcements. Has anyone announced whether they are running or not running? I'm just giving you information about who is going to be on the ballot, or what seats, what offices are going to be open for you to consider casting your vote this 2024 year. So our U.S. representative, John Larson's currently holding that position. We'll see whether or not he intends to run, and who is also running for that position. We have our state senators, John Fonfara and Doug McCory. Those seats are up this 2024. So State Senate, if you are interested in those positions, something to think about. Those seats are up. And then we have our state representatives. So we have a Hartford delegation. We have people who represent every part of the city up at the state capitol, who are making decisions about where funding goes to each neighborhood. So your state representatives, Matt Ritter in the 1st District, Minnie Gonzalez in the 3rd, Julio Concepcion in the 4th, Miriam Khan in the 5th, Jimmy Sanchez, that's a new seat for Jimmy, in the 6th, and Josh Haw in the 7th. Now, all of these individuals currently are holding their office, and I do not know whether or not any of these individuals have announced yet. I didn't check that before I came on the air, but I do know we have a few people who have stated their intentions to run for some of these seats. So now's a good time. January is a good time to think about whether or not you want to run. You probably, if you do intend to run this year, something you probably should have already been thinking about. But hey, there's still time. There's still time. If this show is the first time you are hearing that these seats are open and you are inspired to maybe run, there is absolutely an opportunity for you to get into it. And there's a lot of different ways that you could get into office. One could be seeking the endorsement by a party, whether it be the Democrat, Republican, Working Families, Green Party. There's options for you. You can be a petitioning candidate, and maybe you want to bypass this whole process of seeking an endorsement. you can go and get a couple of signatures, a few, I don't know the exact number, and be a petitioning candidate and bypass this whole process. That form for you to get into that is available right now. You could start collecting signatures today. If you want to just secure your ballot access, you could do that as well. We're going to get into all of these conversations. You probably are going to see some of these folks right here on Civic Beat, so definitely stay tuned. But along with elections comes a lot of opportunities for community conversations, town halls, forums. There's lots of groups that will most likely hold a few forums, and this is the opportunity for you, the public, to hear what these individuals who are running for office have in mind. If they are a current office holder, you want to be able to ask them questions about what have they done with their time in office. And this is that part of the conversation where I believe it comes back to where I started with community in our public life. And this is the part that is the piece that we all do together. And this is my piece. This is your piece. Holding elected officials accountable. And that means we get to critique their job. Have they done the things that they said they were going to do? And that's a role that only we can play. Only I can play that role of critiquing and analyzing and holding them accountable. You can't really hold yourself accountable. I mean, you can and you should, but will they? Do they? No, that's really our role. It's my role. And I get to do that. And that's a privilege. I get to critique whether or not the individuals who are currently in office, who ran and stated they wanted to accomplish certain things with our public tax dollars in this elected representative role. There are some things that they promised, some things that they said they wanted to do. And we get to sort of hold up a report card and say, hey, did they do the thing that they said they were going to do, the thing that benefits all of us in our public life, the life that I described, that we all live together. When you step outside of your front door and you enter onto a public city street, when you enter into a city park, when you go to your local library, when your children are off to school. These are all the common areas and common places, and there's more. I'm just giving you examples of how we are in community together. And these are the places and spaces in which our elective officials, elective representatives are saying and holding promises of how they are going to govern those areas. And so we get to critique it, and we get to analyze it, and we get to have conversations with them about the job that they're doing. Okay. Also running this year, 2024, Registrar of Voters. That office is also open for election. If you are interested in being the Registrar of Voters, and that role is really important, you got like a couple of major functions there to make sure our elections are run properly, decently, and in order, and that our voter rolls are maintained. Whether or not when you sign your name and say you want to become a voter, you register to vote. The Registrar of Voters maintains the voter rolls, maintains those names of people who signed up to participate in the election. But they also run elections and make sure that they are run properly So when you go to the polls, your experience at the polls is relatively pain-free. You know, is your name on the list? Was the polls open? Do they have ballots? Are the machines working? All those kinds of things the registrar of voters is responsible for. So that position is up for anyone to be able to run. And lastly, the probate judge. We get to elect the judge of probate, and that person or position handles the affairs of probate, and that's everything from deaths and estates and name changes, and there's a bunch of interesting stuff that the probate judge is responsible for. And so that seat is also open as well for individuals to run. If you are interested in running for office and you don't know where to start, don't know how to do it, would like to explore it, give me a call. DM me. I have a lot of information. Just recently came off of a mayoral election where I had a chance to participate and play the role of campaign manager. There's a few things that I may be able to share, a few nuggets of wisdom that I may be able to offer and get you going at least. But that is a conversation that you also should be having with a lot of other people as well, if you are interested in running for office. So, yeah, now's the time to think about all of these things, which is why I wanted to bring it to you right here at the top of the year, first show, because, yeah, 2024 is also an election year, some really big elections, some really big conversations that we're going to be having right here on Civic Beat. And that's my intention. That is Civic Beat. We are going to leave it right there. And next week, we'll be back and we'll start to dive into each one of these areas of our public life, our civic life. Get into this civic season with me. If you have any questions, please, again, whatever platform you may be watching this on, YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, leave a comment, like and subscribe, do all of those things, but reach out to me if you have any questions. I would love to take some of your questions right here on the air. If you have an interest in like anything that we talked about with Civic Beat, just let me know, message me, and we'll take maybe a live phone call or two as well. All right, folks, thank you for tuning in. Keep watching all the great programming that is brought to you by Nyesha McCauley, holding it down over there right here at accesstv.org. Be well.
Let me know.